Yusuke, thank you for waiting.
Hello,
Sorry to keep
John.
you waiting. Hang on, my camera is one moment, please. Oops, what happened? Better. It's sunny.
Yeah,
How are you?
I'm fine. And
Good.
you?
You have news for me?
Uh, no.
No, nothing's new. Is every day the same for you?
Yes, especially this week, last week.
Tell me about your typical day. What is your typical day like? How
Uh,
many hours do you work? How many hours do you study?
yes, every day I work for 6 hours.
6 hours a day.
Yes.
Okay.
After that, I I try to research my doctor
Okay,
study
so where do you do your research? At home, at the cafe, at your workplace, at your office?
uh, at workspace. Continue.
Okay. So when you're working, how many hours do you work like 3 hours and then you take a hour lunch and you work 3 more hours or what is your typical work schedule?
Mm, uh, I usually use that time for three hours, about 3 hours.
So you work 3 hours, then you take a lunch break.
Yes,
How long is your lunch break? Is it 1 hour?
1 hour.
And then you work 3 more hours?
Yes.
How many patients do you see in one day?
Uh, I'm I'm uh, I'm just a researcher, so I don't
Oh, you're
see.
not seeing patients.
Yes.
Okay, so what is your research then? Are you working in a laboratory? Are you collecting data? Or are you working behind a computer screen? Tell me about your typical research day.
Yes. My research center is uh, it's in hosp. General
University.
center with hospital with school and research
So
center.
this is a university hospital,
No, National Research Center, Rehabilitation
National
Center.
Research Center. Okay.
Yes.
And the patients are they're special patients that come in.
Yes, very
They're,
special patients. For example, multi-amputation
oh my.
or spinal cord injury.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Are you familiar with Neuralink?
No,
Oh, you don't know what that is? Neuralink?
so of course I know basic
Oh,
knowledge.
you know what Neuralink is.
Yes, but
Okay.
my specific
I
is
understand that. I'm
amputation.
just
Yeah.
when you say spinal cord injury, I'm
Mhm.
thinking Neuralink
Mhm.
is pioneering lots of machine input interfaces. Some
Mm.
people call it cyborg, but
Yes,
it's very interesting research that they're doing.
yes.
And
My colleague works about
oh, he does.
surgeon. Yeah.
Mm, I see. That's interesting. When I started, I know you're probably you work much harder than I do. I have a pretty nice schedule now, but 30 years ago, I was working at a large English conversation school, and our typical day was we had 5 hours afternoon and 4 hours in the evening.
Mhm.
And it wasn't an hour, it's actually our school schedule was 40 minutes lesson, 5 minutes break.
Mhm.
So we would do 40 minutes in the afternoon. We would do 40 minutes, 5 minutes, 40 minutes, 5 minutes, 40 minutes, 5 minutes. We'd do that 5 times.
Mhm.
And then that would give us a 45-minute break. Sorry. And then we do 40 minutes, 5 minutes, 40 minutes, 5 minutes, 40 minutes, and then we were finished. Now that's a 9 hour
Mhm.
hour day.
Is it
Some
online lesson?
no, no, no. There was no online. There was no
Mhm.
internet. This was 30 years ago.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, like usually once a week, you would have a 12-hour day. So you would do 3 morning lessons, 40 minutes, 5 minutes, 40 minutes, five
Yeah.
minutes. You get a 45-minute break. Then you do the five,
Mhm.
and then you'd get 45-minute break. And then you get the four. And after 12 English lessons in a day,
Mhm.
yeah. But I it wasn't so difficult for me. What was difficult was for the smokers because only 5 minutes break. It was very difficult for the smokers to
Yeah.
get to the smoking area, have their cigarette, make
Mhm.
it back before the next lesson. Other schools would do 50 minutes, 10 minutes,
Mhm.
50 minutes, 10 minutes, but their lesson prices were higher.
Mhm.
So our school was more popular because the lesson prices were cheaper.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it says lesson, not hour, right? So it was a little bit of cheating, but in reality, a 40-minute lesson is good, right? Because an hour, you can get kind of tired after an hour. Of course, a 50-minute lesson. Do you need a 10-minute break? Yeah, I think those schools had better
Mhm.
working conditions. But after, I think, about 2 years, most of these schools went out of business
Mhm.
because this was the late 90s and the bubble was over. And
Mhm.
yeah, but there were still a lot of teaching jobs in Japan. Even when these schools went out of business, there were a lot of jobs teaching English.
Yeah.
So I was lucky. I was in a recession proof industry. Do you understand what that means? Recession proof.
Recession
Do you know
proof.
what a recession is? Japanese would say that's a fukeki.
Ah.
Do you understand what waterproof is? The waterproof, Japanese say that's bo sui, waterproof.
Ah. Yes, I
Okay.
see. I see.
So we would say it was a recession proof. So I guess that's bo fukeki
Mhm.
industry would be zangyo, right? So English in Japan for the past 30 years or more, not really a recession. Lots of people want English lessons. And being a native speaker, we get the best jobs,
Mhm.
right? So, yeah, I know what it's like to be in the middle of your career and working hard. Now, what about your holidays? Do you get a Saturday and a Sunday as a holiday?
Yes.
So you get 2 days a week of no work.
Yes.
Yeah. I think for most of the 30 years I've been teaching, it's been 6 days a week.
Mhm.
I do get offers to teach on Sunday, but I always said no.
Mhm.
I don't want my schedule melting out. You know, I'd rather do a few busy days in the middle of the week and then have some total free time
Mhm.
in between. Do you have a family?
Yes. I have a wife.
And do you have any children?
No.
Not yet.
Mhm. Yes.
Okay. That's when you really get busy. When you start having children, then your time goes,
Mhm.
all your free time is gone.
Yeah, it scared me.
Don't be scared
Mm,
because my biggest regret is that I did not have children sooner.
mm,
A lot of people want to wait and have children later. I don't advise that.
mm.
I don't advise waiting because when you're older and you have children, it's really hard because children take lots of energy.
Yes.
And when you get older, your energy levels
Mm,
decrease, and children need energy. So having children when you're younger is much better.
yes.
Yeah. So my suggestion, don't wait. Don't wait. Okay. Did you have any questions today? Any special requests or anything you want to discuss before we start?
Yes, I have, I have a suggestion.
A suggestion.
Suggestion? Suggest,
Okay.
uh,
A request, maybe? Yeah,
request.
okay.
Yes. Uh, I sent you a same text.
Yes.
Ye- Yes, so I want to
Many
try,
times.
yes, I want to try each sentence or each page,
Yes.
one block.
So you would like to have a long answer, like one page at a time instead of sentence at a time or part of a sentence. You want to practice the full page.
Yes,
Okay.
because,
Yeah, I understand why.
yes, my
It's more
presentation,
natural.
yes,
And I imagine you've been practicing. Did you highlight the difficult words in red again?
yes,
Did the
but,
number go down?
yes.
Yay! Congratulations!
Yeah.
That's very good. Congratulations. If the number goes up, that's sad.
Mm,
If the number stays level, that's actually natural.
mm,
There are some English words that are just so difficult. But if the number is going down, that means that your practice is working.
yeah.
And this time in our technology, 30 years ago, that was impossible.
Mm,
You had to sit with a teacher for every practice. But now that we have this voice recognition technology, the AI style
yeah.
technology, you're able to practice on your own. It also makes my job a lot easier
Mm, mm,
if you're practicing outside the class
yes.
so that when you come in, too many times people are so busy, they have no time outside of class. And then all the stress is. So I'm so glad that you're doing that on your own. Okay. Shall we start?
Yes, please.
Okay, great.
Actually, my wife learning English for a long time, so my wife teach me English.
Does your wife want to take my English class? No,
No.
too busy.
Yes.
Okay. If she does, please let me know.
Mm,
Okay, can you see my screen?
yes, I can see.
Hmm. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I will be talking about the relationship between antero-posterior center of gravity position and gait speed in individuals with unilateral transfibial amputation.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I will be talking about the relationship between anterior-posterior center of gravity position and gait speed in individuals with unilateral transfibial amputation.
Yusuke, you have any questions? No
No,
red, no red words there.
yes.
Okay, that's good news. Ah. Like everyone, for individuals with lower limb amputation, mobility is essential to daily life. Higher mobility is directly linked to better quality of life, including social participation and self esteem. Previous studies have shown that gait speed reflects the range of daily activities, making it an important focus in prosthetic rehabilitation.
Like everyone, for individuals with lower limb amputation, mobility is essential to daily life. Higher mobility is directly linked to better quality of life, including social participation and self-esteem. Previous studies have shown that gait speed reflects the range of daily activities, making it an important focus in prosthetic rehabilitation.
Social participation and self esteem.
Social participation and self-esteem.
Participation.
Participation.
Daily activities.
Daily activities.
Daily activities.
Daily activity.
Daily.
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 Daily activities.
Daily activities.
That's better. Prosthetic rehabilitation.
Prosthetic rehabilitation.
Prosthetic rehabilitation.
Prosthetic rehabilitation.
Prosthetic rehabilitation.
Prosthetic rehabilitation.
Yeah. Let's just be careful with O-R-E.
Yes.
Prosthetic rehabilitation. Prosthetic rehabilitation.
Prosthetic rehabilitation.
Pra,
Pro, pro,
e, u, e, o. So focus O. Prosthetic ah. Focus in prosthetic.
focus in prosthetic.
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 Yes. Uh, do you know post office? Post office.
Yes. Post office.
Post office. Post office.
Post office.
Focus in prosthetic.
Focus in prosthetic.
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 Yeah. Prosthetic rehabilitation.
Prosthetic rehabilitation.
Mm. This should be our focus from here on is the A, I, E, I, O, remember onyomi, kunyomi,
Yes.
Osaka, daihan. Okay, so in English we have each vowel has two or more sounds. A good example: self-esteem, self-esteem.
Self-esteem.
Yes, self-esteem,
Mhm.
self-esteem.
Self-esteem.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So if you concentrate, I think you'll be okay. There are some, okay, a gait, a daily, daily gait,
Daily gait.
daily.
Day, daily gait.
That's pretty good. Yeah. So it takes a little bit of concentration, and I think you'll get it. I think the AI is pretty happy.
うん。
It just requires concentration. You are a piano player, right?
Yes.
I think you'll notice yourself that when you stop concentrating, the sound of your play, the quality goes down. Do you understand
うん。
what I'm saying? Sometimes when you get tired, like I'm a
うん。
singer, and if I find myself getting tired, the audience starts falling asleep
うん。
because it doesn't sound exciting. But
う
if
ん。
I'm leaning in and concentrating and putting energy on every note, which takes lots of effort, it sounds better. Fortunately, the more you practice, I don't want to say it gets easier, but with the same effort, the sound improves, if that makes sense. Maybe your music teacher would say the same thing, that if you keep leaning in with effort, the sound improves. You don't really want to get lazy, um, because then it's going to sound lazy. But the more effort you give it, there is a learning curve. There is muscle buildup,
うん。
right? Do you know what we call muscle memory?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And this is all about building muscle memory. Do you have any questions on this page?
No, I don't have question.
Okay. A key factor in gait speed is the control of the center of gravity, which we call COG. The slide shows the inverted pendulum model, which helps visualize COG control. When step length increases, pendulum inclination also increases, raising the potential to accelerate in late stance. However, the COG position also matters. So we measured COG position in individuals with unilateral transfibial amputation.
Key factor in gait speed is the control of the center of gravity, which we call COG. The slide shows the inverted pendulum model, which helps visualize COG control. When step length increases, pendulum inclination also increases, raising the potential to accelerate in late stance. However, the COG position also matters. So we measure COG position in individuals with unilateral transfibial amputation.
The inverted pendulum model.
The inverted pendulum model.
Okay. So we have D, we
E
have E at D invert. Well, sorry, I'm sorry. So inverted. The E has no sound. It's the R dominates. We talked about the R domination. So inverted
inverted.
pendulum, pendulum. So we have
U
pendulum.
pendulum.
The inverted pendulum model.
The inverted pendulum model.
That's better. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Pendulum inclination.
Pendulum inclination.
That's pretty good. Other questions here?
It is difficult to speak length. How about
Length. That sounds good.
uh,
That sounds good. Step length.
step length?
Step length increases.
Step length increases.
That's pretty good, Yusuke.
Mm.
I think you've been practicing. Other questions?
No, I don't have question.
Okay. It has been reported that the position of the COG at initial contact varies depending on the patient's condition. For example, in cases with limited joint range of motion or pain in the residual limb, the COG remains posterior as shown in the figure on the left. On the other hand, when the hip and knee extensors are weak, patients lean their trunks forward. So COG position is an important factor for understanding individual gait strategies.
It has been reported that the position of the COG at initial contact varies depending on the patient's condition. For example, in cases with limited joint range of motion or pain in the residual limb, the COG remains posterior as shown in the figure on the left. On the other hand, when the hip and knee extensors are weak, patients lean their trunks forward. So, COG position is an important factor for understanding individual gait strategies.
Forward,
Forward,
forward, forward.
forward,
That's pretty good. Yeah. So the R and the W, there's two separate sounds there. Forward.
forward,
Okay. Pretty good. Range,
range,
joint range,
joint range,
contact varies.
contact varies,
Okay. Condition.
condition,
That's good. That's good. Make sure you, with the N at the end, make sure you smile. Condition,
mm, condition,
motion.
motion,
Make sure you're smiling. Make sure,
sim,
yeah, make sure your lips are not touching. Other questions?
mm,
Pain.
pain,
Yeah,
pain.
yeah.
How do you feel my strategies?
Strategies, strategies.
Strategies.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
Mm,
Okay. Step by step.
mm.
Okay. There's a lot to remember. A lot of nuance. Do you understand nuance?
Nuance.
Do you understand what that means? Nuance. Nuance is the finer points.
Mm,
Yeah, the finer points in English. We have more sounds. We have syncopated rhythm. Do you know what that means? Syncopated rhythm. The Japanese language is a straight rhythm. Arigatou gozaimasu.
it means flat.
No, it's a straight rhythm. Mary had a little lamb. Okay. But English is more like jazz, right?
Mm,
We have all these very intricate rhythms.
mm,
Banana
mm.
instead of banana,
Ah,
banana, right? So these uh, nuances make it difficult. There's so many things to remember, but improvement better every day. Okay, you're doing well. I'm glad to see the red number going down.
mm.
That's good progress. Okay. Oh, are we ready? Did we do this page yet? No. Are we ready? Okay, I'm ready.
Yes. Okay.
In this study, with step length set as 100%, we defined the anterior posterior position of the COG at initial contact as the COG sub AP position. We then examined the relationship between this COG sub AP position and gait speed.
In this study, with step length set at 100%, we defined the anterior posterior position of the COG at initial contact with the at the COG sub AP position.
Hmm.
We then examined the relationship between this COG sub AP position and gait speed.
Now let's be careful with C
C
and Z. So let's see here. Yeah. Position.
position.
COG sub AP position.
COG sub AP position.
Position condition.
Position condition.
P- p- position condition.
C
Position condition.
position condition.
Excellent.
Condition.
Yeah. Those now fortunately we have alignment. Not everything is unique. We have many repeating examples and position condition, same vowels, same rhythm structure. When foreigners speak Japanese, they make very strange mistakes. They'll say karaoke. Do you know what that is? Do you know what karaoke? Do you know what that is? Japanese say karaoke.
Oh,
Okay?
yes.
We don't speak that way. We don't say karaoke. That's a
Mm.
Japanese word. We say karaoke
Mm.
because we are using carry. That's a word in English. I'm carrying my little sister, right? I'm carrying vegetables to the market. Carry, Mary, Harry, Larry, and okie. You know, we have this term we say okie dokie, smoky. So karaoke, which is not a Japanese word.
Yeah.
Um, so we repeat the patterns familiar to us in our language. So moving away from straight rhythm, moving away from katakana English is a long journey because you have to use English style
Yeah.
and getting a sense of English style. It's very much like music. When you learn a new song, you have to learn the song's style and the song's mood. And but fortunately, there are some repeating patterns. And when you become familiar with the repeating patterns, it makes the job easier. Position condition.
Position condition.
Do you have a question?
No.
All right. The purpose of our study was to clarify the relationship between the COG sub AP position and gait speed in individuals with unilateral transfibial amputation. Our hypothesis is the more posterior the COG sub AP position, the faster the gait speed.
The purpose of our study was to clarify the relationship between the COG sub-AP position and gait speed in individuals with unilateral transtibial amputation. Our hypothesis is the more posterior the COG sub-AP position, the faster the gait speed.
Purpose.
Purpose.
Er, uh. Purpose.
Purpose.
Yeah. Okay. You're gonna get special homework when we finish. The AI is kind of cheating. Um, it's using context. Do you understand context, Yusuke?
Yes.
Zengo.
Mm.
So when you speak in context, it's making connections and um it's ignoring some of your mistakes. The next step in your study is to speak one word at a
Mm.
time. You don't need the of our. You could make a list of your difficult words: purpose, position, amputation, hypothesis, and read one word at a time and check with the the AI to see. This will be difficult because even native speakers have a problem. I find myself when I'm searching for words with the AI, I'll say a word perfectly and the AI does not understand.
Mm.
I'll have to place in context myself as a native speaker to get the right answer. Or what I'll do is I'll type the word with my fingers. Do you understand my point? If I speak out of context, even native speakers have a problem.
Mm.
But that's a challenge. So maybe in your next practice session, try the words alone out of context.
Yes.
Yeah. And maybe you could list them in blue or you could list them in a separate sheet for me. And we'll
Okay.
we'll go through that. Okay?
Okay.
Questions here?
No, I don't have question.
Okay. Step by step. The participants were 16 individuals with unilateral transfibial amputation, none of whom had problems with their residual limbs or socket fit. The details are shown here.
The participants were 16 individuals with unilateral transfibial amputation, none of whom had problems with their residual limbs or socket fit. The details are shown here.
Residual limbs.
Residual limbs.
Res, resi, residual.
Residual.
That's a little difficult. Zidu, zidu. Situation, zidus, residual.
Residual.
Situation,
Situation.
residual,
Residual.
I think this is one of your problem pronunciations. Z,
Z.
residual.
Residual.
That's pretty good. Details.
Details.
That's pretty good. When you go through your single word practice, I think many words are going to turn red again,
Mm.
and that will be our next focus. Questions?
No.
Okay, good progress. We collected normal gait data using a 3D motion capture system with 65 markers placed over the body. We calculated gait speed and the COG sub AP position and analyzed their relationship using Pearson's correlation coefficient.
We collected normal gait data using a 3D motion capture system with 65 markers placed over the body. We calculated gait speed and the COG sub-AP position and analyzed their relationship using Pearson's correlation coefficient.
Motion, position.
Motion. position,
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 motion,
motion,
ocean,
ocean,
Pacific Ocean,
Pacific Ocean,
motion capture.
motion capture.
Okay. We have many repeating patterns: motion, correlation, position.
Motion correlation position.
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 Notice coefficient,
Coefficient.
correlation,
Correlation.
position.
Position.
So sometimes O is pronounced, sometimes O is not pronounced. Motion,
Motion.
correlation,
Correlation.
coefficient,
Coefficient.
position,
Position.
collected,
Collected.
collected,
Collected.
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 There you go. Sometimes we have to just forget the letter is there. Right? Banana.
Mm.
The first A, the O, the letters can have the strong sound, the minor sound, the weak sound, which is schwa, or zero, nothing.
Mm.
And we have to keep track of these levels of the vowel. But we have some repeating patterns, and you'll start to see those. Questions here?
No.
Okay. I would now like to talk about our results in two parts. Firstly, the COG sub AP position itself at initial contact. Secondly, its relationship with gait speed. Starting with the first,
I would now like to talk about our results in two parts. Firstly, the COG sub AP position itself at initial contact. Secondly, its relationship with gait speed. Starting with the first,
I would now,
I would now,
I would,
I would,
I would.
I would,
Yeah, W is a bit difficult. I would,
I would,
I would now,
I would, I would now,
I would now,
I would now,
would now.
would now,
That's better. Yes. Thank you. Now about.
now about.
Good. Questions. We have ow, now, about, hour.
Would now,
Now, about, hour.
now about hour,
Ow, hour, about,
hour.
now. How now, brown cow.
How now, brown
Ow,
cow.
ow, ow. How now, brown cow.
How now, brown cow,
Brown
brown
cow.
cow.
Ow,
Ow,
now,
now,
about,
about
hour.
hour.
That's better. Yeah. House, mouse.
House, mouse,
House, mouse.
mouse,
Okay, so like gate, a, ow.
gate, a,
Gate, now, a,
gate,
ow.
eight, ow.
Gate,
Gate,
about.
about.
Good. Yeah. Those are a little difficult. A and ow.
Mm.
Mm. Okay.
Okay.
Good. We obtained interesting results. The COG sub AP position was located toward the leading limb in all three conditions. The three conditions were initial contact on the prosthetic side, on the intact side, and for the able bodied control group.
We obtained interesting results. The COG sub-AP position was located toward the leading limb in all three conditions. The three conditions were initial contact on the prosthetic side, on the intact side, and for the able-bodied control group.
Obtained.
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 C- c- conditions.
Condition.
Conditions.
Conditions.
Okay. Questions?
No, I don't have question.
Okay. As for the relationship between the COG sub AP position and gait speed, in the scatter plots here, the x-axis is gait speed and the y-axis is COG sub AP position. The left shows the prosthetic side and the right the intact side. We performed a correlation analysis, and as a result, no significant correlation was found.
As for the relationship between the COG sub-AP position and gait speed, in the scatter plots here, the x-axis is gait speed and the y-axis is COG sub-AP position. The left shows the prosthetic side and the right the intact side. We performed a correlation analysis and as a result, no significant correlation was found.
Questions?
No, I don't have question.
Let's move to the discussion. The COG sub AP position was always located toward the leading limb on both sides. Prosthetic gait is characterized by a lack of propulsive force, so a left-right difference would be expected. However, the COG sub AP position was similar on both sides, suggesting that its position is not involved in forward propulsion. So what does the COG sub AP position contribute to? Since it relates to the base of support, it may contribute to gait stability. To evaluate stability, we also need to consider gait speed and COG position.
Let's move on to the discussion. The COG sub-AP position was always located toward the leading limb on both sides. Prosthetic gait is characterized by a lack of propulsive force, so a left-right difference would be expected. However, the COG sub-AP position was similar on both sides, suggesting that its position is not involved in forward propulsion. So, what does the COG sub-AP position contribute to? Since it relates to the base of support, it may contribute to gait stability. To evaluate stability, we also need to consider gait speed and COG position.
Both sides.
Both sides.
Irashai. Both sides.
Both sides.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Questions here?
It's difficult to talk TH.
Well, in reality, it's not really about the sound because most native speakers will just say both sides, both sides.
Both sides.
They won't make the TH sound, but there will be a little hiatus It's not necessarily a seimon heisa or a glottal stop, but it's the rhythm that is important, both sides.
Both sides.
It's like irashai, both sides.
Both sides.
Okay, that's pretty good. Sounds good. Out of context, this word would be very difficult. I think even native speakers may have a hard time. If I said both to my smartphone, it might not catch that word out of context.
Mm.
I'm very interested to see your out of context list. Anything else?
No.
Okay. Finally, let me summarize. The COG sub AP position was located toward the leading limb in all participants, and no correlation with gait speed was found. This suggests it may contribute to gait stability rather than forward propulsion. Thank you for your attention.
Finally, let me summarize. The COG sub-AP position was located toward the leading limb in all participants, and no correlation with gait speed was found. This suggests it may contribute to gait stability rather than forward propulsion. Thank you for your attention.
Gait
Gait,
found
found,
forward
forward,
forward.
forward.
Okay, that's going to be a tough one because we have and w,
Uh, uh,
w,
uh,
w. There, yeah, forward.
forward.
There is a there's an island in Japan called Iojima. Do you know?
Yes, Iwo Jima.
Do you know how Americans pronounce it? We say Iwo Jima.
Hmm,
Iwo. And when I said, "Oh yeah, Iwo Jima," and they're, huh, Doko. the, our pronunciation between
between,
the relationship between.
the relationship between,
Yeah, let's go through these. The relationship between the COG sub AP position and gait speed.
the relationship between the COG sub-AP position and gait speed.
Relationship
Relationship
was investigated in participants with unilateral transfibial amputation.
was investigated in participants with unilateral transfibial amputation.
The COG sub AP position at initial contact biased toward the leading limb
The COG sub-AP position at initial contact biased toward the leading limb
across all participants.
across all participants.
Across,
Across,
across.
across,
Contact,
contact,
across,
across,
across. It's not across, it's
mm,
across.
across.
Yes. No significant correlation between the COG sub AP position and gait speed was found.
No significant correlation between the COG sub-AP position and gait speed was found.
Found
Found.
across,
Across.
investigated,
Investigated.
transfibial amputation,
Transtibial amputation.
relationship,
Relationship.
significant,
Significant.
no significant correlation.
No significant correlation.
It's pretty good. Questions?
No, I don't have question.
That's pretty good practice. You say you say your wife has been studying English for a long time?
Yes, she 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 have learned English for over 10 years and
Okay.
she study and talking.
How is her pronunciation?
Uh, Actually, I'm beginner, so I can't understand her
Oh,
pronunciation.
really?
But
So her pronunciation is good?
yes, I think so.
You think so?
I think so. Just I think so.
What is her job? Is she a therapist?
She was prosthetist
Oh, so she
and
understands medical terminology.
yes,
Okay. Have her read the sentences to the Google to see if she can do it. Challenge her.
uh, she
Is it easier for her?
uh, uh s- actually she never used Google
Try.
Translate, but
Try.
she go to school, English
Yeah, I
school
understand.
every
But
week.
you may try, you and your wife have a little competition
Mm,
to see who can get the the least number of red words.
mm,
Yeah, I'm I imagine some of these words are difficult for her also.
mm,
Um it's 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 a type of rehabilitation
mm,
because the habits, the strengths, the musculature, the muscle memory of Japanese speakers is different than
mm,
native English speakers. And the
yeah,
retraining
mm,
is very intensive.
mm,
But you're doing good work, and we can see um, clearly see a difference as you practice.
mm,
The number of red words has decreased over time. That's very good.
mm,
But you know, you keep with the exercise. The goal is to make it easier with practice, so that it doesn't become so stressful and it becomes more relaxed and more comfortable. And that happens over time. I'm sure you understand that.
yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, I don't have
All right,
question.
Yusuke, I'm looking forward to your individual list of words out of context, right? Let's take it apart.
Yeah,
This was a good suggestion to put it together on page by page. Now let's reduce it down to piece by piece and try that way. So if we come at it with different angles of practice, we can really get to the finer details.
yeah.
If you do have questions, send me a message next week, same time.
Yes, please.
Yusuke, thank you very much. I'll see you then.
Thank you very
All
much.
right, take care. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.